we're going to do a comfort change on trucks. Not because I don't like Aces, I really like Ace trucks, but because this deck has a wheelbase that's like smaller than 14.5, and the boards I had been riding were 14.5. I was doing 14.25 and I thought I liked it, but I found out I like 14.5 even better. And this board isn't quite 14.5. And if you remember from a couple videos long posts ago where I compared a 14.25 wheelbase to a 14.5, comparing Thunders and Aces, you saw that with a 1/4 inch difference of wheelbase, you got the same overall wheelbase from axle to axle. So I'm actually going to try, this is going to be interesting, because the overall wheelbase will actually be bigger than what I'm used to. So the Aces on 14.5 gave like 17, but now if I put Thunders on this one, because it's like 14 3/8, if I put Thunders on this, the overall wheelbase will even be a little bigger and wider than what I was used to, which might be cool because I was doing 8.25 and I liked going bigger to 8.5. And now if I go to the wheelbase even more, which I actually liked the 14.5, but I can't get that on this, putting the Thunders on this one will be sick. I'm not going to keep the green ones, although that would be that would look hella sick if I put the green Thunders on here. I'm still going to put the Bones Hards. I'm going to switch them into here, and then that'll be the setup. You'll see here in a sec. I'll switch it all out. Alright, so before we switch trucks, we're going to see if there's a height difference. Now, it's interesting because it looks like the Thunders might actually be higher. Let's see. But they're really not. They're sitting at both about like 52, 53. And these are the old Thunders, the original ones. 52, 53. But the interesting thing is, if you take like a straight edge and set them on the axles, this is all I got for like a straight edge. It's flat. And I take this thing and I zero it out. But there we go, reference. Now, without setting it on any buttons or anything, just like on the edge, you can see there's almost a 1 degree difference, saying that the Ace is still a little higher. Not on the axles, but the thickness of the hanger, because these kick more out and these go more up where the hanger is. See? That end over there is fatter and kicks it more this way. And that one kicks it more up and angles it more in, and that one goes more up. So that's why these give a wider wheelbase. The feel is going to be a little different in that way. Now I'm going to switch bushings and the wheel. So here's the thickness of the riser pad. If I raise it up and go onto that, that's more than 1. So that would make it feel higher than before. You'd notice that. So I'm just not going to use them. So yeah, before I even finish setting this up and switch bushings out and switch wheels, the thought was crossed my mind, whereas when the trucks kick out the wheelbase, because these are Thunders, with the wheelbase that comes on this board, along with the combination of the size of the tail, like on the boards that I'm used to riding, the tails would be small, man. They'd be like 6.5, whatever. But on these, I think they're like 6.88. I'll have to look it up. With the wheelbase kicking out, it might make the tail feel like a tail I'm used to, while pinpointing and literally like the process of elimination, like aiming towards seeing only what it feels like to just have a wider wheelbase with this combination. All right, let's check it out. Yeah, so I just looked it up. The precision on the tail and the nose too, but specifically the tail, is like to the hundredths of a decimal point. It's like 6.63 or something. 6.5 is 6.5. So it being 6.63, and tail, if you're used to riding, being like 6.5, which is on a lot of bigger boards are like that too. Where now I'm doing the Thunder trucks to extend it out a little bit. It'll make that tail still feel the same. So this will be interesting because I'll get the wider wheelbase I want. And then some of those boards, they're like 8 3/8, and right in the middle, this is actually 8.5. So it'll be perfect that way. And then we'll see if get a more stable ride or used to what I was on a 14.5-inch wheelbase, since this board doesn't have it, by just utilizing these trucks with this shape. Yep. You really gotta tailor this stuff to what you think you like, man. You can do it no matter if shit's different. You can still make it like the same. Well, I shouldn't say the same, but like I was saying earlier, like you can literally use the right things in the right ways to literally only change little parts of the board you want to change, of how it feels. Like, even though you're changing the deck and changing the trucks, you're not going to change the size of the tail you're used to. And even though you're changing the wheelbase and the trucks, like the wheelbase on the actual board's different, and the trucks change the wheelbase because of the geometry of the trucks, even extend them out a little bit, because the measurement that the wheelbase is cut on the deck and how the geometry of the trucks works, it'll bring it to what you're used to. But now what I'm trying to do is extend it just a little bit, not too much. I don't want to go 14.75, nothing like that. And I don't want overall wheelbase to change drastically either. So this is what will get it just a little bit, and you, without changing everything else, even though everything is very different. It's wild. Freaking awesome, dude. And we're gonna see if that's gonna help. I'll show the clips from trying half cab flip today with Ace trucks on this deck, which made the overall wheelbase smaller. And then I'm gonna try it with the Thunders on this deck, just to see, like, not to hate on the trucks. I like Ace trucks a lot, but this specific deck didn't have the 14.5-inch wheelbase. So you got to work with that. And sometimes you got to work with that, because if you want a wider wheelbase, usually what will happen is they'll make the overall deck length longer. And you might not want your overall deck length longer because you're not that tall. So when you change certain things, other things change too, to still keep the size of like noses and tails and stuff that you want. So after I set this up, then I'll have the try. Today was my first day skating this, so then tomorrow will be the second day skating it, and I will try half cab flips again on these trucks on this deck and see if it feels any different. And it might just make your stance that much more comfortable, and could make actually trying tricks easier and more relaxed and more fun. We will find out. Oh yeah, before I get too far, I'm still keeping the same trend as like, not trend, but same style I was going with those trucks. Same width trucks on the board where the trucks are wider than the board. But it don't matter, you should do that because the bolts, see the bolts, where the bolts sit, they eat up a 1/4 inch. So that brings the wheel in this much, brings in the wheel this much. See? And that's how you get it to fit. But I gotta switch the wheels now, actually, and bushings. Interesting side note here. Upon switching my bushings, I think you have to put the Bones Hards bushings in without the bottom or top washer, dude. That's why Bones bushings are made that way. That's why they have that discoloration. Because the axle kingpin, the kingpin, isn't long enough. I'm gonna try and crank this down, and if it's already tight enough where the kingpin's flush with the end of the kingpin thread, then I won't add them. But if it's still loose, then I might add. Probably not the bottom one because it's so thick, but you don't need it. But I might add this top one. If I need it. I might not need it because these are Bones Hards. They'll probably be tight enough. On the Aces, you can really tell what I'm trying to talk about here. The Aces, I did put the bottom one on, and then the bushing in, and then the hanger on, and then the top bushing. And there's like still all this thread showing. So you'd probably want to use that top washer also. And then crank it down. See? That's weird. Huh. It's weird that it does that. What the heck? This one has no bottom or top. And it's like really tight. It's not even cranked down all the way. Huh. Huh. So that happens because on the Ace trucks, this base plate, bushing base, is lower. So it just leaves that much more kingpin exposed. Whereas the Thunder sits higher and kicks it out more. Huh. Cool. Well, that might make these last longer. But also, I think the stock Thunder bushings that come with these are possibly smaller too, because they're cranked down on here and it still shows the kingpin. So yeah, Bones bushings are good, dude. Perfect to go with this, dude. Bones bushings on the flight. Yeah. Alright, so here's everything swapped. Wheels, bushings, without the bottom or top washer. It still sits pretty tight. Here's the other side, where I added the Dodo washer on the top, and it's still really tight. But it's not cranked down all the way. If I cranked it down all the way, it'd probably be too tight, and it would wear the bushings out quicker. So I'm going to actually take that off. You don't need any of them.
Second of all,
You don't need these fused bones hards on thunders.
Crazy Carl is always.
Alright, so here's what I'm gonna try the next time I skate. It's bones hards. No squeak too. That's good. Okay. We're gonna have to check that out. Alright. The test of the wheelbase and the stance comfort. Next. With the trials using the same tricks. Half cab flips.
why did we let the alien drive?
Hey, I got us here, and please, no.
There it is, man.
It's not mine. It's not your
Powell flight.
Relax. I'm a cop. Okay. Well, he likes it in there, don't you, buddy? Why would I like it in here? This is worse than
Thunder
the
trucks.
you had me in earlier. Such a kidder.
Ripped the wheels. Bones bushings. And Independence 7/8 hardwares. The Bone Swiss ceramics too.
Keeping in this bag. A jar of full parts? All right. What are we looking for?
It's a damn skateboard.
This.
Okay.